Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for To Your Eternity, chapters 145 and 145.5. We're actually doing the double chapter this time. When we last left our heroes, Fushi, after a quick little encounter with Sumika, ran away from the orphanage with Satoru, to kind of confront Satoru about the presence of a knocker, in Michi, one of the other orphans. And also that Satoru apparently had the ability to kill knockers all along and lied and said that he didn't. Um, anyway, we learned that the original Michi died of an illness naturally, and that her current knocker took over the body after that, which raises the question, is it right to kill her? With the Fushi's, let's kill all the knockers. And also, is that significantly different from what Fushi does, taking over the bodies of the dead? Which Fushi refutes, but can't really argue back on. Which ends with Fushi kind of running away. He runs into Bon, who's kind of oddly condescending towards Fushi and his plans to kill the knockers, so I'm a little bit curious as to where all that is going. And then Fushi has a new plan to go to school as Funa. And we'll see what comes of that now. As we open with Fushi as Funa in the classroom, asking someone, say, where is my desk again? And this boy is just, huh? Oh, over there. And the boy is just sort of like a little bit confused, obviously. But Fushi tells him, thanks a lot. And she goes to sit down. Chapter 145, Making Up, Part 1. And we see Mizuha walks in the classroom. And this guy comes up to her, morning, Mizuha. Yeah. And Mizuha goes and sits down. Fushi looks at her and then walks up to her. Hey, Mizuha, do you need anything? I'll help you any way I can. And Mizuha just looks at her. As there are these three other girls, I think the same girls from I think 143 plane. When the real Funa, or the knocker Funa, went up to Mizuha, and they had sort of guardian knocker and Funa knocker collaboration bit. They still aren't really fans of Funa for hanging around Mizuha. See that? And Fushi looks up at them. She looked at us. And Fushi walks up to them. Say, is it that strange that Mizuha and I are friends? And one of the girls looks at her. Not really. What's your problem anyway? We didn't say anything. And Fushi looks at them all, she's getting the nerve to say something. The girls all just kind of stare, and then Fushi just says, "Oh, I know. Why don't we all go on a date sometime? Me and the three of you and Mizuha, all five of us. I know that'd help us get along." That's not gonna work. And the girls just turn to walk away. Let's just go. And Fushi calls after them. Think about it, okay? And a teacher walks by Fushi and walks up and says, Funa, your coach is worried about you missing morning practice. Huh? And the coach, don't me. Are you alright? You've kind of changed lately, I guess. You even stopped hanging out with your friends. I've been wondering what happened. So were those three girls Funa's old friends? Because I feel like Funa was never a big enough character pre-knocker for me to really know her, remember who her friends were. But I'm guessing that's what's going on here. And Fushi looks at the coach. Oh, so it looked odd to you? Yeah, did you have a fight or something? And Fushi kind of, in this, I'm kind of curious if Fushi is actively pretending to be Funa here, or if this is Fushi's kind of genuine reaction. I don't know how to get closer to them. They run away before we can talk. And the coach tells her, those three stick together because they're stronger that way. If you get them alone, they'll be more likely to forget what the others think and tell you the truth. Also, quick side note. Ever since Fushi transformed into Funa, I've been using she, her pronouns for Fushi. Generally, my thought is Fushi as an orb thing does not have much of a gender on their own. So I'm just kind of sticking with I normally use he because Fushi is normally in male bodies, whether that's the Nameless Boy or really just the Nameless Boy, as most of Fushi's go-to transformations are kind of revived right now. But as Fushi is sort of in Funa's body, I'm using she, just because. Anyway, Fushi says, I get it, thanks. And the coach tells her, make sure you talk to everyone, okay? Don't forget there are people worrying about you, even if they don't say so. And Fushi kind of takes that in, which is, again, a really interesting thing going on there. Because I don't know why Fushi would care so much about the three of them. I mean, that's kind of the big question, is that Fushi here is kind of more concerned about, I think, using Funa to get to Mizuha and the Guardian Knocker. Hence why the first thing she does is go up to Funa, or go up to Mizuha / the Guardian Knocker, just like Funa did back in 143. That's a Fushi move, but all of this, Fushi kind of listening to all this advice feels sort of more what maybe the original human Funa was like. I don't know. Anyway, we cut back to Fushi calling after one of the girls. Hey, Saki-san, and she hurriedly adds on the san I really like. And then she runs down the stairs. Did you think it over? The date. And Saki is still kind of you can see in her body language, she's not quite comfortable here. Huh? You're creeping me out with all this date stuff. What's all this even about? Of course we're not gonna go. And Fushi presses, why not? Because you hate me? Or because you hate Mizuha? And Saki's just sort of, both of you. Okay, so, because Saki was supposedly originally Funa's friend. So we have this, hold on, I'm gonna read the next couple of lines. Because that's giving me an idea. Fushi presses, why? And Saki sort of hems and haws, she looks away. And then finally says, you blurt out every thought that crosses your mind. And Mizuha does the opposite. So I can't stand either of you. So here's the thing. This you blurt out every thought that crosses your mind. On the one hand, I don't think we know enough about the human Funa to say if that's something that Funa ever did, or if that's something even Knocker Funa ever did. But we do see that Fushi Funa does that. With just asking them on the date. Hold on, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. And went back to 144.5. So yeah. So the thing that's popped in my head is that if this has become a recurring enough thing that Saki can call her out on it, how long has Fushi been Funa? Because my impression was that this was the next day. Right after 144, Fushi goes home, and 145 starts. But is it possible Fushi's been Funa for a week or something? And that's sort of been enough time to sort of taint Saki's perspective of her. I don't really know. I do not know. Anyway, let's just keep reading. And then Saki finished, there, I told you, bye! And Fushi's sort of shocked as she watches her leave. Huh? Oh! And she materializes the friendship band. That was, wasn't that the thing that Izumi gave to Mizuha that sort of set off Izumi's death? I know! You can have this! Can we be friends now? And Saki just yells, of course not! And Saki just stomps off. Funa watches her leave, and we see the lighter-haired, I see her as being a redhead, member of the gang is sort of there, and Fushi turns to her and just says, here, this is for you. And the girl kind of leans back, whoa! Jeez, what's this for? And Fushi tells her, I thought maybe we can make up if I gave it to you. Huh? It just makes me wonder why you even think that. And Fushi tells her, huh? Well, isn't it better to be friends? And the girl laughs. Friends? You left us. I stayed behind. Isn't that all there is to it? What do you mean friends? Isn't it all about where you are? So again, I'm not quite sure enough about, Funa didn't really have a character before, I only remember one human Funa scene. And it's the bit right after Memori dies. And Fushi is like, "Hey, what the fuck is up with what happened at the schoolyard last night?" And Funa's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And then she meets up with Mizuha under the bridge, and Mizuha kills her. That's all. Unless there's another human Funa scene that I'm just not remembering. But I do remember even like when I was, because sometimes when I make the jump from like reading a chapter a day to reading a series weekly, I'll forget some things. But I remember even when I read Funa's Killing Memori chapter, I was like, who is this person? Have we seen her before? And it wasn't until someone called her senpai that I was like, oh, she must be a student at the school. So again, I don't know, like it feels like there's more context to the scene that we maybe should have. But also it's possible that the point is Fushi doesn't actually have the context here. Like he doesn't really know what's going on with Funa. She's sort of taking all this information as it comes. But then also, why is he bothering with the three girls? What's his plan with the three girls? I kind of figured his plan was, you know, get information from the Guardian Knocker as pretending to be the Funa Knocker. That was sort of my reading of it. Anyway, the girl sort of turns to leave. Now I'm going over there, and Fushi tries to call after her. Wait a sec. Mizuha made this hair tie just for you. And now she's just blatantly lying. Again, why does she care about this girl? Me? Huh? Oh, yes, for you, Nagisa-san? You can see she's like trying to tell, she doesn't know what her name is. And Nagisa, all of a sudden her hair like whitens. I don't know if that's just Oima like forgetting to color in her hair. The next two panels, she's drawn with white hair, and she's clearly creeped out by the idea. She did? Yikes! And Nagisa turns and leaves. And Fushi is just standing outside with the hair tie when the last girl, in the group, Fushi notices the last girl in the group. Oh, and she walks up to her. Kasabe-san, this is for you. Kasabe looks at it. This is the one Mizuha was wearing? Yeah, she said you could have it. So again, why, like, what is the deal? I just don't get why Fushi is doing all this. But Kasabe says, but why are you doing this? You were the one bad-mouthing her the most. Why are you acting like her friend now? So maybe Funa was one of the girls who was bullying Mizuha in like some of the intro chapters to this arc a long time ago, and I just like never picked her out from the crowd because I think I just read. I never picked out specific characters when we talked about Mizuha being bullied. I always just sort of viewed them as like the crowd or girls in general. I did not really register any of them as individual characters, so that was a little bit weird being like, okay, that's what was going on right now, I guess. I don't know, this is all just a really weird chapter for me. Because it feels like I'm jumping into like a manga I've never read before almost. Like not fully, but a little bit. Anyway, Fushi asks her, but you're only pretending to hate her too, right? And Kasabe is sort of stunned there before she shouts, don't just make stuff up! And Kasabe runs away. And then these two girls are watching, and Fushi turns to them with the hair tie. You can have this. It's from Mizuha. And she tosses the hair tie to them. Again, I don't know what exactly she's trying to accomplish here. Maybe actually with all of the... So here's the thing. When it was just the three girls, I thought the three girls were the focus. But here's an idea. When Fushi turns to these two randos, it's from Mizuha. Maybe Mizuha's the one in focus here. Maybe Fushi wants to get Mizuha's attention in this roundabout way. Not by just pretending to be the Guardian Knocker's ally, but explicitly by like... Or not explicitly, by just this really roundabout method I can't really wrap my head around. I don't know, let's just keep reading. So we then cut to Tonari, who's just sort of walking the hallways alone. Does Tonari have friends at school yet? Because I don't know if she's not part of the occult club, is she? Anyway, these two girls come to her. Oh, hey. And Tonari looks back at them. They note the same hair tie. Excuse me. You got one of those too, huh, Tonari-senpai? Yeah, sure did. And someone approaches. Oh, it's Mizuha. Yep, she didn't like it at first, but eventually started wearing it. Right? So who's in control here? Is this Mizuha or is this the GK? Anyway, the Mizuha, whoever the Mizuha is right now, questions, right? And Tonari, a little bit nervous at most, just nods. Yeah. One of the girls notes, oh, Mizuha-senpai. We got them too. You made them by hand, didn't you? Thank you so much. And we see Fushi has just been going around school giving everyone she can these they're wearing them as wristbands, though they're normally used as hair ties, I think. I don't quite know enough about hair ties work to know there's quite a distinction. But anyway, what's her name? The girl who's friends with Mizuha, whose name I can't remember, the leader of the occult club. Hold on, I'm wasting your time. I know. I want to remember her name. Hana, that's her name. Thank you, Google search. Hana asked them, huh? Who gave those to you? Funa-senpai. And we cut to Fushi, who's just tossing out hair ties everywhere. This is for you, and this is for you. And Hana, Mizuha, and Tonari all watch her do this. And Mizuha grabs Fushi. Come here. And Fushi notices her. Oh, Mizuha, the first years love your hair ties. And Mizuha, who's very clearly the guardian knocker, questions, having fun, are we? Fushi. So yeah, she knows what's up. She knows what is up. But I would dive a little bit more into the confusion of just that chapter in general. But instead I'm going to dive right on into 145.5 and see how the two kind of work together as a whole before I dive deeper into 145 alone. So anyway, let's jump right on in. With now meddling part 2. That's an interesting thing, because if you go back to 145 part 1, it's making up part 1, and now it's meddling, which I guess is interesting because Fushi's actions in this chapter could be seen as Funa making up to the trio, but also kind of meddling in the affairs of the trio and of Mizuha. It's an interesting thing there. Anyway, continuing right where we left off, the GK asks, "What are you doing in that body?" And Fushi tells her, "I haven't been able to get your family back yet, but I thought I might be able to do something about your school life." And so, actually, okay. So, Fushi here is clearly talking to Mizuha herself. Not the knocker, but Mizuha. To repair Mizuha's social standing at school, where she's kind of an outcast because all the boys like her. Because she can't restore Izumi. Not yet. But I was assuming at the end of last chapter that was the Guardian Knocker. But maybe I was wrong. Because I'm just going to keep saying Mizuha until I know for sure. Mizuha is kind of confused. I'm not sure I understand you. And Fushi tells her, I wanted to create a place where you could be happy. So you wouldn't want to die anymore. I mean, I don't think the Guardian Knocker is going to give her that option anymore. And Mizuha is stunned. A place I could be happy? Okay, so I think what's going on here is in the first panel, that's Mizuha. And then we see this kind of change, like a little kind of creepy smile, and then dead eyes. And I think that's the Guardian Knocker taking over. Because we then see Mizuha kind of creepily taking out the hair tie, and that meant passing out these hair ties and lying about me making them. And Fushi agrees it wasn't the smartest plan, and lying was rude to you and the people taking the ties. But Mizuha tells her, But you care about me enough to lie to all those people, right? Enough to take over Funa-san's body to try to help me? You did all that for me. That's so wonderful. It's like you've accepted me and the knockers entirely. Okay, so who is in control here? Because you did all that for me. He clearly did that for Mizuha, not for the Guardian Knocker. But then we have me and the knockers. Last we left Mizuha, she did not know about the knockers. So either the Guardian Knocker is deliberately twisting Fushi's intent to sort of make it seem like she's doing all this for it, for the knocker, or Mizuha knows now. I'm leaning towards the former, but let's see where the narrative takes us. And Fushi asks, I didn't think you mentioned the knockers. Are you Mizuha, or are you a knocker acting like her? And Mizuha kind of teases, you can't tell? I'm Mizuha, heh. Now is she lying is the real question. That day you rejected me. Funa-san's knocker taught me. About us, and the knocker inside me. Oh, so it is Mizuha. Which means Mizuha, that day you rejected me was when? In the tunnel? Then eventually, because that was all the same night, when Funa became a fully merged knocker, and when Fushi failed to kill the Izumi knocker. That was all one night. So it could be after that, especially with everything Izumi was saying. At that point, Mizuha kind of has to know she's got a knocker. So yeah, I think it's the next night. Because this is, I think, the first time we've seen Mizuha since then, right? Yeah, I think I'm right. Anyway, about us and the knocker inside me. When I got home, my left hand moved on its own and wrote hello. Imagine my surprise. Mama and Papa seemed really happy when they saw it. That made me realize that I really am special. Alright, okay. Fushi kind of looks at her. And then transforms back to the nameless boy. Because all of a sudden, as Funa, she was wearing this kind of, what looked like a sports jacket over her school uniform. But now at the top of page 4, he's back in the fur pelt that the nameless boy always wore. And says, the thing about Fushi, about the nameless boy and Funa, is that they're kind of like, the only real difference is just like Fushi's hair is a little bit shorter. Anyway, it looks like they've already corrupted your heart too. Sorry, I couldn't save you, but I'm gonna stick with it a little longer. I want you to endure your own pain, not the knocker. Maybe that's partially because I hate knockers, but how can I put it? Letting a knocker handle your pain feels like, I don't know, you still haven't accepted yourself. It's like you put a bandage over a wound that never closes, and never actually heals. Okay, so I really like what we're getting at here. Because I think what's going on is Fushi has been wondering all this time about what's the moral action here. What is objectively right? And here he's kind of realizing there might not be an objective right. I have my own ideals, and I'm going to fight for my ideals. People have to feel their own pain because that's what makes them who they are. They have to go through the pain to experience. You can't just have pain or pleasure. They have to come hand in hand, or else they're both kind of minimalized by it. I think that's Fushi's message here. But Mizuha kind of counters, you're blowing it way out of proportion, Fushi. The knocker is nothing more than cold medicine. It makes me feel better when it hurts, that's all. And Fushi tells her, if I'm exaggerating, you won't mind me removing that knocker, right? And Mizuha kind of teases, oh, I don't know. If you'll make me feel better instead, it's okay with me. And just like all descendants of Hayase, she wants to get in Fushi's pants. Despite the fact she's like 14, which is a little bit weird. And maybe I'm looking at it in a too adult perspective now that I say it out loud. But yeah, her goal is a relationship with Fushi, just like Hayase's was by the end, just like Hisame's was, just like Kahak's was in some ways. Fushi, though, still doesn't quite read it as, like, definitely not sexually, maybe not even romantic. But Fushi's just, yeah, of course, I'll do my best to make that happen. Um, which it kind of fits with Fushi's worldview there. Sure, you have to bear your pain, but you don't have to bear your pain alone. He'll do his best to make her feel better, but she has to be the one who feels. Is Fushi's whole view here. And Mizuha just says, "Do it now." Huh? I wouldn't mind being completely dominated. Oh, that is distinctly sexual. I was not wrong in reading it as sexual. By you. And we see she kind of goes up to kiss him, and then Funa comes back. Who should be like super dead, like dead twice over. Whoa, I didn't know you were such a horn dog, Mizuha. I thought you were just some honor student. Now I'm all skeeved out. Oh. So I just look at the next panel. Okay, I'm gonna get to that in a sec. We see Mizuha in utter shock. Huh? Oh. Hmm? And then she kind of starts to panic. What am I don't know what. Which feels like maybe those earlier lines were the Guardian Knocker lying. That actually Mizuha doesn't know all this yet. Maybe. Funa then says, "Apologize." Huh? Apologize for killing me out of nowhere. Sure, I did want to die, and I was bad-mouthing you a bunch, and maybe I wasn't worth keeping alive. But that doesn't mean it's okay to just kill me. So, hold on. Okay, so, wait a second. I'm trying to put all the pieces together. So, what happened when Sadaru killed the Knocker? Did that, because he didn't leave a vessel. He would have to leave the physical vessel, right? Even if Funa was just a Phi floating around the Earth, there would have to be a vessel for her to re-enter. I don't know. Anyway, Mizuha then says, "Sorry, but I'm not the one who killed you." And Funa kind of, I think this might be the real Funa though, possibly. "Oh, you mean those knocker things? You're blaming it on getting parasitized? Well, I was watching everything, and it sure looked like you were enjoying it to me. Would you call that being captivated?" Uh, okay. And maybe this is the real Mizuha, and she's just shocked that Funa is back. "You were watching?" "Yep, I was a ghost, so I could even see inside your room." But also, hold on, if Funa's been alive for a while, at least for a day, I thought Fushi couldn't turn into people once their thighs kind of had their vessel again, right? That's why he can't turn into Jergugu or Bon or Tonari or Hilo, Kai, and Messar or any of those, or the Oniguma. Anyway, Misa's like clearly creeped out by the fact that Funa's been watching her this whole time. I learned all kinds of crazy stuff. And we learned that Funa was there during that conversation with Izumi. With Fen and Nixon and Bon and Sadaru and Fushi and Yuki. It's kind of floating in the background. She's still kind of chill there. But it wasn't really a bad feeling. There were surprises and happy discoveries. And we see she's walks on someone with like a drawing of. So my first thought that might be Mizuha's father, because this picture clearly has Mizuha, but Mizuha's father has white hair and that's black hair. We also see Funa, with a heavily injured body, and Funa's Phi in the earlier scene from last chapter with Fushi and the coach. With the coach's line, "Don't forget there are people worrying about you, even if they don't say so," which kind of seems to get through to Funa. And I learned another thing after I died. I didn't live a crappy enough life to be killed. But that doesn't mean I'm going to thank you for killing me. If you don't want to apologize, how about this? I think we could at least chat every once in a while as people who know each other's secrets. Not like friends or anything. Unless you don't wanna. So, I want to know what game is going on here. Whose play was reviving Funa? Because I guess Fushi could possibly make a new body for her, but when did he do that? He was using Funa's body as recently as earlier in this conversation. So when would he have had the time to give Funa a new body? I just don't know when that would have happened. But we do see Funa here, like, clearly in command, now that she kind of knows all the secrets. And it's running into the problem I mentioned in 145 Plane, in that Funa wasn't really enough of a character for me to know what to think of her. Again, I always read her as just kind of a part of the crowd. I mean, before, I thought she was a new character when she killed Momori. I had no idea she was real. Not real. Real was the absolute wrong word to say there. Don't know why I said it. I did not know that she was an actual character we had met. Anyway, not like friends or anything, unless you don't wanna. Shake on it. And she holds out her hand. Mizuha looks panicked. Like, she is not happy to be in this situation, and Funa just kind of stares at her, not showing any emotion. And Mizuha just runs off, runs right past Hana, who was apparently, so I guess at some point, Mizuha and Fushi kind of ditched Hana, which I guess makes sense. I don't think Hana knows Fushi's secret. But Hana is concerned for Mizuha. And Funa just sort of, back in the room, kind of turns to Fushi. How'd you like that? I ran her off good, didn't I? And Fushi sort of looks at her, ran her off? And Funa responds, what? Didn't you bring me back because you wanted help? And then Fushi then says, I did it to stop you from being taken from me. Which I don't know what that's about. How would she have been taken at that point? He had control of her form. But Funa then says, what's that supposed to mean? I've got no idea, but hit me right in the heartstrings. And Fushi kind of looks down forlornly. And then he apologizes. I'm sorry to both of you. I dragged you both into this mess. But Funa tells him, no, don't worry about it. And Fushi thinks, it didn't work out well this time either. All that enthusiasm got me nowhere. So yeah, Fushi kind of sees this plan as a total wash. And I'm not quite sure what the goal was, beyond getting Mizuha's attention. And then what, kind of panicking her with Funa? I don't know. Anyway, someone walks in. And it's Kasabe. Can I get that hair tie after all, Funa? And Funa and Fushi are just both kind of shocked at her sudden appearance. And Funa kind of panics, because she does not have the hair ties, and she is no longer Fushi. Oh, huh? There's one on the ground. And she kind of breathes a sigh of relief. Sorry, will this one work, Kasabe? And Kasabe kind of gives this awkward smile. Thanks. And then Funa's kind of stunned there. And Kasabe kind of asserts, sorry for yelling earlier. And Funa just sort of laughs. Huh? Don't sweat it, oh yeah, can I come to your house sometime? We can talk about romance again or something. Oh, okay. And Fushi smiles, with the idea that he's done, like, at least one good deed today. At the very least, he kind of repaired Funa's relationship with her friends, once he brought her back to life. So okay. Alright. This was a weird chapter. It was a weird concept, that, I'm still not quite sure what Fushi's end goal was. Like, what did he get out of this plan? What did he... not what he got out of it. We know that he failed. It didn't work out well this time either. I'm just a little confused on what he hoped to get out of it. Like, he started this plan, and what was the point of it? What was his best case scenario? Like, does Mizuha give up? Well, also, I think part of it is that, like... that he didn't know that Mizuha knew about knockers until, the beginning of 145.5. So his plan might have failed as soon as he realized that Mizuha knew more than he thought she knew. Which is a whole other set of questions. I don't know. I just don't quite know what this would have accomplished if Mizuha was unaware of the knockers. I really just cannot quite wrap my head around this plan here. It still gives us some really great moments. 145, it does feel like is one of those chapters that's just kind of there to set up point 5. Like, it does feel like a kind of fairly perfunctory first half to the main climax of the back half being Fushi's confrontation with Mizuha. Which leads to, the closest thing, like, this chapter feels significant in that Fushi, after weeks and months of like hemming and hawing, should I kill the knockers? Should I not kill the knockers? If I'm going to kill the knockers, why would I kill the knockers? If I'm not going to, why wouldn't I kill the knockers? All of a sudden, he's like, I know why I'm opposed to the knockers. Because people have to sort of live their own lives. That's why. That is the problem with the knockers. They are an easy salve that stops people from sort of actually experiencing all life has. Is an easy way out. And the easy way out is wrong. And then Funa comes in. And, you know, sort of blows open the whole game that her thigh has been around, and that I guess Fushi made her a new body, and she sort of came back into it. I'm not quite sure when that would have happened, because it would have had to have happened between pages like 3 and 4. Which, like, looking around, they seem to be in the same room. Because we see the same backgrounds on page 1 that we see in page 4, the same kind of radio equipment. And let me look at that last page on... So I do think, though, that they went to a different room, now without Hana and Tonari, between 145 and point .5. But I don't know when Fushi would have made a new body for Funa. Like, they don't move in between those two scenes. But that's a minor quibble. Those kinds of continuity hiccups aren't super bothering to me. They're not really the point. The point is, Funa is now here. The knocker is gone. And she's on our side. And she's kind of aware that, like, she was sort of not necessarily in the right. What she did to Mizuha was wrong, but also Mizuha's actions were wrong. Her murder response was wrong. And also, here's another thing. Even these chapters that I don't quite get, in like the big picture, the great thing about To Your Eternity is that there's always these little bits to kind of latch onto. Like, we had that sure I did want to die, but that doesn't mean it's okay to just kill me, does it? Which is, like, literally the theme of the arc. I did want to die, but you can't just kill someone because they want to die. Like, alright, I kind of, you know, the fact that Fushi sort of was a little bit swayed by the Guardian Knocker's arguments back in 138 or 139-ish, kind of always rubbed me the wrong way. But now this is Oima not even subtly in the slightest being like, okay, if y'all have not worked out that the Guardian Knocker was wrong yet, here is your flashing neon sign. I did want to die, but that doesn't mean it's okay to just kill me. So yeah, and I do like Mizuha. Like, Mizuha's clearly uncomfortable here. Like, as the scene goes on, she's like, oh boy, I'm fucked up. I'm fucked. There's no really getting out of this. Funa knows what I did. That's not good. She knows everything at this point. Which leads to her kind of running away. She looks haggard at the bottom of 9. Anyway, excuse me. And then we get this weird bit with Fushi where he's like, I resurrected you to stop you from being taken from me. And I have no idea what that means. Like, I don't have the slightest clue what that's getting at. What does that even refer to, Fushi? It just doesn't seem to make sense in any level of the To Your Eternity lore. Like, Thai don't just get taken, they have to leave for paradise. We've known that since Bond was introduced us to the fact that the spirits are, like, real and not like a literary device. But evidence for that goes back to, like, March's death. Anyway, we end with the scene of Kasabe getting the hair tie, which is sort of the one unadulteratedly good deed Fushi did here, beyond resurrecting Funa, is restoring Funa's friendship with her friend group that the knocker kind of derailed. And maybe this time, like, the fact that Kasabe is specifically bonding over the Mizuha hair tie is like, okay, maybe they'll treat Mizuha better, even as Mizuha becomes worse and worse of a person. All complicated stuff. So yeah, this is a really, really dense pair of chapters, as I've been going on for 40 minutes already. Um, and it feels like a chapter that works much better in the minutiae than in the grand scheme of things, in that I have no idea what Fushi was after here. I could not tell you what he wanted to save my life. Um, but in the end, the minutiae of reading it is really good. There's a lot of, again, really good bits. It's just maybe it's either less than the sum of its parts or more than the sum of its parts. I can't quite tell. Because it never quite coheres into a sensible goal for Fushi. But so I think it's less than some of its parts. Some of its parts are really fucking good, these individual things. But in the end, I don't quite know what the end goal here was. And maybe next chapter will sort of provide answers on that front. I don't know. So yeah, I've talked a lot, and I have nothing else left to say for these two chapters. Hope you all enjoyed the chapters and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!